Okay, we are currently streaming live on YouTube and recorded. So, Commission President Rocky Smith, we can begin with the first day of the retreat whenever you're ready.
All right, we will open up the meeting for the City Commissioner Retreat for 2021. Day one will be meeting this evening and tomorrow. And we will start with roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Frank O'Donnell.
Here.
Commissioner Rachel Lyles Smith.
Here.
It looks like Commissioner Denise McGriff has not joined us yet, and Commission President Rocky Smith.
Here. All right. And I think from there, we'll turn it over to our city manager who will make an introduction and we'll start out.
Well, thank you, Commission President Smith, and welcome, commissioners. I'm really excited for tonight. I'm really looking forward to kind of changing it up a little bit and how we've traditionally done these goal settings. As some of you may remember, is a lot of us talking and talking about ideas and what we've accomplished and what we see coming up. And we're going to mix it up. And I think you all have a very good idea of what we've accomplished over the last 2 years. And so this really is going to give us an opportunity to focus on, some of the goals, the hierarching goals that you as a commission want. And, I fully expect and hope that as we work through this, there's those opportunities for not only commissioners to work together, talk about their goals, their aspirations, what they're envisioning for the city, what our challenges are, but really, an opportunity for staff to help you with that conversation as well and bring our insight and our expertise and what we see to really help you at the end of this come up with a set of goals that all of you are excited about and gives you the opportunity to really show and put down onto paper where you want us to go over the next 2 years. So with that, I'd like to introduce Sarah Singer-Wilson. She'll be facilitating us over the next 2 days here, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Sarah.
All right, thank you so much, Tony, and thank you just to the City of Oregon City for inviting me to help guide you through this process. I'm really looking forward to the agenda that we have planned for tonight and tomorrow. One of the tools that we'll use throughout our session is this virtual whiteboard. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to show you the agenda so we can jump right in and get started. So hopefully you all can see that, and I'll zoom into the areas that we're going to focus on, but I appreciated the opportunity to talk with everybody in advance and to survey staff and get to connect with them in a separate meeting to just understand, we said we wanted to change this process up and do it differently. And so those interviews were really beneficial to understand what you all want to see from this process. And so the outcomes that we defined and that I heard in the interviews were, you guys want to build a strong team that presents a united front and will help to cultivate healing and trust in the community. I know 2020 has been a tough year for all communities. And so I think that this will be a great opportunity to bring everybody together around a shared set of goals and be able to do just that, to cultivate trust and healing. The next outcome here that we hope to achieve in this process is to set some high-level goals to direct staff and ultimately the city's budget process. These goals segue right into the budget process, and staff will begin to propose how to allocate resources to help achieve these things. The third outcome will be to enhance the collaborative partnership between staff and the commission. Through these conversations, it's a great opportunity to just gather insights around how the commissioners are thinking, what it is they want to achieve. And just through hearing that discussion, staff can better understand what the needs are and be able to deliver on that as you guys work together throughout the year. Let's see. And then finally, we want to develop clear goals and an implementation structure. That was one of the things I heard loud and clear in the interviews was we want to make sure that we maintain accountability, that there's some timelines that go with these goals, and that there's a reporting structure so that everybody knows what to expect, when to expect updates, and make sure that the progress is clearly being communicated throughout the year. So in order to achieve those outcomes, this is the agenda we've outlined for tonight. So right now we're in the middle of our agenda review. In a moment, we're going to do some introductions and just setting our intentions for the process. We'll just quickly review roles and establish some ground rules that will help to guide us through these discussions. In the spirit of bringing the team together, we're going to do a little team building activity. Since we're virtual, there'll be no trust falls or anything of that nature. It'll be really easy, I promise. And so we'll take a little time to do that this evening. Do a review and just quick celebration of progress of the 2020 goals. I think it's amazing how, when working with communities this year, they've just managed to accomplish so much and have made so many changes in the way that they deliver services. And it's easy to lose sight of everything that's happened. So this will be a way to just quickly check in and talk about some of the accomplishments and recognize that. At 6:15, we'll get into the environmental scan. And this is where we'll start to get a better understanding of the big picture to lay the groundwork for the goal setting that will happen tomorrow. Staff's going to provide some updates on some key topics that the commission recognize or acknowledge that they would like to hear an update on, and topics that are important to you that are going to come up, I think, during the goal setting. So staff's going to provide some updates there. And then as a group, we're going to do a context mapping exercise. So we'll have some small group discussion here and then come back together and do a debrief and be able to see the full picture of what's happening in Oregon City in order to set the picture or set the foundation for that goal setting. We'll take a quick break at 7 o'clock and then jump in. Our last activity of the night will be to do this vision alignment exercise, where again, you'll work in small groups to think about what the vision is. Where are we headed? Let's make sure we have a clear direction so that we can set goals accordingly that are going to align with that. So you guys will work in groups to talk about the vision, and then we'll do a discussion and a debrief. And what's cool about this exercise is you're already going to start to see themes emerging that it'll be a nice segue into the work we're going to do tomorrow for the goals. At the end, we'll leave some time to wrap up, talk about or see if there's any questions, talk about the next steps, and then adjourn promptly at 8:30 so you can get a good night's rest before we continue our work tomorrow. Any questions about this? Okay, let's see. So before we get into rules and ground rules, I'm going to stop the share for a second and just want to set some intentions. Again, I think right now life is just extremely busy. We jump from virtual meeting to virtual meeting, and I just want to take some time to kind of take a deep breath and think about what our intention is for this process, so that we move through the work intentionally. This really sets a foundation for the work that you guys are going to do for the next couple of years, and we want to make sure that it's as productive as it can be. So whatever you need to do to get centered and just thinking about, where you've been and where you want to go. And it's quite a commitment to sign up to serve the community in this capacity, whether as an elected official or as a public servant. So just take a couple deep breaths and think about what's your intention for this process. What do you hope to achieve? What do you hope to see by the end of it? And just kind of note that intention. And we're just going to go around and do a quick sharing from each of you as far as what your intention is for this process. How are we going to move through this work with purpose? So I'm just going to call out by your squares in the order that I see you on the screen, if that's okay. And I'll start up here in the corner with Greg. You're first. So if you'd kick us off, Greg, and just share your intention.
Thank you, Sarah. So my intention for this evening is, as somebody who's newer to the Oregon City team, I really want to listen to the Commission's policy objectives. I want to understand their vision for the community. I'd love to talk about, I'm hoping we get to talk about some outcomes that we'd like to see from the work that we do, and then start brainstorming about the ways that we as staff can support those visions, and especially within the library, use our expertise and our resources and what we do to help support those visions and make some wonderful things happen for the community over the next couple of years. So that's my goal and intention for the evening.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. Tony, you're up next.
My intention for tonight is, and this weekend, I am focused on how we can support the commission, hear what their aspirations are, what their goals are, what their concerns are, and really hope for that with this amazing group of staff that we have around us who are participating tonight, that not only can we have really great conversations about how do we do those things, but it continues to just strengthen and build the relationship amongst the commissioners and staff and staff and staff and the commissioners and commissioners. So just really looking forward to that opportunity to spend some just quality time focusing on what we're looking forward to rather than reacting to the things that are happening to us right now.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony. Katie.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to just having some time that is not a regular city commission meeting or not a regular work session, to just really get to dive into some of the topics that are super important to both staff and the commission, and try to drill down on some of the things that we really want to look forward to over the next 2 years. Some of those things that we can really mark off of our bucket list and say, hey, we are very proud that we were able to accomplish this over the last 2 years. So I'm just really focused on that and super excited to kind of build some more camaraderie in something that's outside of a regular commission meeting setting.
Excellent. We are going to do just that. All right. Thanks, Katie. Lisa.
Well, I guess my intention would be to just positively support the commission and staff here in this virtual space and moving forward, and with the goals that they set here today and tomorrow and over the weekend. So yeah, just here to support everyone.
Thanks, Lisa. Let's see, Laura.
My intention is to listen to the commission and really hear what their goals and priorities are, and be as helpful as I can as they move through this process. And then I too look forward to carrying out the goals of the commission and seeing how we can support them beyond this weekend and in the long run as well.
Okay. Thanks, Laura. Patrick.
I guess the two things that came to mind thinking about my intention is really obviously kind of listen to what everybody's sharing and the perspectives, and then thinking about connecting the ways I can help positively support those goals, those thoughts, those issues, those concerns. So really listen, and then just connecting all those things together.
All right. Thanks, Patrick. Matt.
It's going to be hard to come up with something original, but being the newest member of this team, I do think that I have a lot of connections to make with people. And, on a practical note, I suppose what you've mentioned at the outset of just connecting the budget with these goals will be a high priority for me, just primarily to ensure that the document that's presented to the community reflects and can be easily identified to the goals. So that's what I'm hoping to do.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Let's see, Kristen.
Hi, good evening, everyone. When Sarah said the words intentions, the words I wrote down were listen, learn, and to share. I feel like we've gotten so much great feedback from our community lately about their feelings and their thoughts and what their future casting is. I want to be able to listen and learn from our commissioners so that way I can appropriately share that information out with our community.
Excellent. Thanks, Kristen. Kendall. Oh, you are muted. There we go.
I'm excited to learn more about the vision for the future. What are some of the strategic priorities for the commission? Obviously, how I can better serve the commission and serve the Oregon City community, and just looking forward to collaborating with them and just figuring out how I can be more effective at meeting their needs.
Great, thanks, Kendall. Chief.
That's me. I think Tony sort of hit it. I've done a few of these, and I kind of like that we're doing this different. You know, before it was just us just shotgunning a ton of information, and there wasn't a whole lot of time to kind of work through some issues. And I like the way that we're going to do this a lot better. I think that it's a time. 2020 was obviously crazy for many reasons. I think the city sort of I kind of sense they're in the mood for leadership and for us kind of forming a clear direction. That's I intend on being a part of that conversation to the best of my ability.
All right, thank you, Chief. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Well, mine might be even more detailed. I mean, I've always thought, even since my first term of election, that we need to continue to evolve from a mill town to a new identity that provides a good living for all our residents and a lifestyle they'd like to either continue or evolve into. I want this to come away with some comprehensive, not fragmented view of the OC future, and a plan that allows staff and commission to work together to complement each other and give each other both the information and resources they need to accomplish their goals. I want, if you've used the community survey, which I don't think is frequent enough, I think we need to increase our community engagement. It needs to be a two-way communication, not a one-way communication. If you read that survey, you see some responses that are very informed and some that are so incredibly uninformed, things that we don't even have the power to do. I say in the end, we determine the staff goals, give them the necessary resources to accomplish them. And to me, that's the preliminary step in the forthcoming budget process, as Mr. Zook just said. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Donnell. Commissioner Smith. Oh, I guess I should say Commission President Rocky Smith. It's too
or
Smith.
Just Rocky is fine.
Okay.
I thought of a couple of things. One, I think this review of 2020, which some of we want to completely forget, but I don't think we go back and review things enough. And I think, you know, especially in a tough year like last year, we finished the year and we think, what did we really accomplish? And if we go back and really look at what we have accomplished, it's a lot. And I think not only what we've accomplished this last year, but the last 5 years or 10 years in Oregon City, in the scheme of things, Oregon City is a far better place now than it was. And we kind of have to remind ourselves when we get frustrated or we get or we feel like we're not accomplishing things, that we really take a look at what we've accomplished, because I think this city has come a long way. I love the goals session mainly because it's a little bit more relaxed than the regular commission meetings, and especially hopefully tonight we get to know some of the staff. I was looking around the screen. I think I've met everybody. I don't know that I've met everyone on this screen in person, though, which is unbelievable. To think that we've been in computer world so long that we haven't actually met people in person. So I hope to get to know some of the staff a little bit tonight, and also what their goals are. I just hope that this is kind of a fresh start for something. I feel like in almost every aspect of my life, I don't have a lot to look forward to. They're so hard, you know, it's like I finally want to look forward to something. And so I've been looking forward to this because I think, you know, being that it's a 2-year goal cycle, you know, by the end of the year too, we might be, you know, getting out of some of this stuff and we might be getting back into normal. So I like this idea that we're thinking towards the future, starting with a a commission that when we have our mayor elected and our commission solid in April, that we'll really have a good team to move forward. So I'm excited about that, and I think it's promising.
Thank you so much, Rocky. John Lewis.
Thank you. Well, yeah. Good evening, everybody. So I enjoy these goal setting sessions as well. It's kind of a bummer that we're not face to face or all in the same room, but I think I've got high hopes for this. I saw some of the materials you had, Sarah. I'm looking forward to playing with those and using those in a productive way. So much of what happens in public works is kind of the day to day. It's nice to, see a refresh or a redirection happen, that isn't kind of in the day to day or in the business meetings that we regularly have. So I'm looking forward to interfacing, listening a lot to the city commission, and hopefully finding ways that we can apply what we hear to the work that we do. And sorry, I got a call. So anyway, just really looking forward to being engaged and hopefully coming up with some goals. I really kind of hope that we have a couple of bold goals maybe for the city so that we can get inspired around those bold goals. It would be good for the community, I think. But other than that, happy to be here.
Thank you, John. All right, Commissioner Lyle Smith.
Thank you. I like what everybody else said. Can I just tag on to that? I enjoyed, I do enjoy this type of work. I think it's a lot of fun to be strategic and intentional about the direction that we're headed as a city. I jotted down a couple of things. I know at the last goals retreat, the last goals retreat was my first goals retreat. And at that time, I really loved all of the presentations from all the commissioners, because like some of the new folks that are on this call from city staff, I felt like I was still learning. You can read a lot, you can absorb a lot, but it really helps. And so it was really helpful to hear. Of course, now that I'm 2 years in, I'm like, okay, I told Tony, I was like, I want to restructure. I don't need to hear all that again. Let's really focus on the future. So sorry, guys, if you don't get the same presentations that I got 2 years ago. But I really wanted to see this process have an alignment between setting goals, the projects that the city staff are doing to implement those goals, in the budget. And like I said, when I look back on the retreat from a couple of years ago, it felt either disjointed or that they were very siloed pieces. The commission had their goals, the staff knew what they wanted to do and needed to do, and then we had the budget, and we had a couple of surprises in the budget. And to me, I kind of feel like if they're in alignment, we shouldn't have a lot of surprises in when we get to the budget. And so I would love to see a process that means that all these three things are tied together, because that's the way we go from goal to objectives, where things are becoming real on the ground, and then our community can see the results of those. And so I really think that's important. And then I do still value, I really love to hear from the staff. We need you to make sure we're not missing something. We have these big high level goals, but at the end of the day, you all are our boots on the ground. You're the ones who are filling potholes and making our city work. And a lot of your work probably goes unappreciated, but I want you to know that I really do appreciate it. I love that I can call someone or I can report something and it happens, that you care about the city. And so I know, because you are boots on the ground, that you have a lot of stuff tell us and to make sure that we don't miss anything, stuff that we may not know about. So I want to hear from you. And then after 2020, it really made me think. My number 3 item was how do we leave room for the unknowns? And I don't know if it's possible to plan that out, because you don't know what you don't know. But we had quite a number of unknowns, and as we go through the biennium, there's always things that come up, and we're always making adjustments. So just to be thoughtful on, I guess going forward, what does the structure look like so that we can check in and we can see how we're measuring our progress on our goals? That's one of my outcomes of this, is I really want to see things and how they're moving along through the course of the biennium, so that we can then better communicate and highlight our shared accomplishments. I feel like the city, we have a hard time getting our accomplishments out there. Like I was saying, we have stuff that we've done, and a lot of people don't know it, and so we do have stuff to celebrate, and it's definitely from our staff's hard work. And so I am grateful for your hard work, and I'm sure we will have a lot of accomplishments in the next biennium. So I'll stop there.
All right, thank you. And Commissioner McGriff, I know you joined us a few minutes late, so just to be thinking about it, we're sharing intentions as we go around for this process. And so you have a moment to think about that. And I'm going to call on James next, if you would share your intention.
Well, you cannot conduct economic development all by yourself, and therefore you can't conduct economic development in a vacuum. So I am looking for more collaboration with not only the commissioners, but more opportunities for collaboration with my colleagues, because we are building a society here together, and it's important that we accomplish the goals that we set out today. So those are my intentions.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner McGriff, you're up.
Well, I've been ready. And I also prefer Denise, as just like Rocky does. I don't stand on formality. So I will say that it's been over 20 years since I attended one of these. And I know Sarah knows that I formerly was staff. And I didn't find those retreats particularly effective. It was basically white papers and lists of things. And it really wasn't very innovative, nor was it very forward thinking. So I am very glad that we are able to reset and look at this in a different way. I, like John Lewis, is also disappointed that we are not in person. I can't really get a feel for how people are feeling or what they're talking about, because I can't see you other than this front on. So that being said, basically my intention, or what I'd like to see out of this, mimics and echoes much of what I've already heard. I am very much a team player, and I'm looking forward to us continuing to work as a team, no matter who occupies that 5th spot. If that's not their intention, I just don't think that there's a place for them here. I am interested in leveraging the city's resources on behalf of the community. And I'm very interested in creating a strategic, and I use that word very emphatically, a strategic path forward. Not counting 2020, I think we've had the list that we have of our previous goals. I got copies before I decided to be on the commission or ran for the commission. And I looked at them, and it basically was a lot of lists of things, but there wasn't a tie between what the vision was to the goal, to the project list. And I think that's what we've been lacking. And I also want to make sure that, like Rachel said, aligning goals, budget, projects, programs. In addition, I think we need to have that placeholder for opportunities that may come to us. And I think that we need to also make sure that we are being proactive, as you've heard me sort of echo a lot of what James has said. We've had a lot of opportunities to talk about economic development and being proactive. And so that means for me we are no longer going to wait for whoever comes down the road to say, we've got this opportunity for you. We're going to go out and look for the opportunities. We're going to put out documents that give the development community, our citizens, their opportunity to tell the outside Oregon City, this is what we want, this is who we are, this is what we see ourselves doing. And if you fit into our vision, come on down. We want to work with you. We want to do whatever we can to leverage our resources to help you, but we're going to stop being reactive. That is not a good path forward. So I'm looking forward to, as best as I can, sussing out your guys' nuances and figuring out how to do this online, because I've never done it online. And I will say, in response to Rocky Smith's statement, I have met everybody on the screen. So I'm very happy to see you all. And I stopped by the police station today and I realized I hadn't been over to the municipal court side. So I stopped in to talk to the gals and see how they were doing. They're cold, by the way. So I just wanted to say hi to them and visited with people on the other side. And then I went on over to the community development building and I left you a little present, Laura. So at the back door. So you don't need it now. It's nothing critical. It's just something somebody dropped off at my house and I'm dropping it back off to you. So I'm looking forward to this and thank you so much.
Thank you, Denise. All right, and I just want to introduce Jacob Wiley. He's going to be helping tonight with some of the breakout groups. Jacob, you want to say hello or anything you want to say before we get started?
Well, hello, I'm Jacob. I'm really looking forward to meeting more of the staff during this retreat and also getting to hear what the commission has to say. So that's enough for me.
All right, thanks, Jacob, and thanks for helping out with this weekend. All right, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen for a moment. So next on the agenda, one of the things I want to do, and we'll catch up, those introductions and intentions are important. Again, some of this work, the team building, all of this sets a good foundation for what we want to do. So don't be too stressed about the times. I have plenty of flexibility in this agenda where we will make it up elsewhere. But before we get started, one really foundational important piece is to just talk through quickly the roles and set some ground rules. So my role here is to guide you through the conversation, keep us focused on the agenda, use ground rules to assist the group. This really comes in handy towards the end when we get to the tricky part of deciding what the goals are going to be and what's going to move forward on the list. And if there's any, occasionally there's disagreement. I've never worked with the council or commission before where everybody's been in 100% agreement. So I expect that there may be some differences that come up, and ground rules really can help us to navigate any of that. So commission's responsibility tonight, roles this weekend is, as always, is to provide that policy direction and to help set the high level goals to guide the organization and give them direction for the budget, the programs, all of that so they can do their work. And then staff's role in this process is to be engaged, share their ideas, experience, and perspective. They are immersed in the work all the time. And so we want that perspective at the table too, to help us in setting better goals and realistic ones. And then also they bring a wealth of technical expertise to the conversation. So as you would, commissioners, in any other meeting, use that, lean on that wherever you need it. And they're here to answer questions as you think about how to formulate these goals. With this, I will just ask everybody to help participate in setting these ground rules. So the first one I set, because we're working in this virtual environment, is to just be patient with me and the technology. It's been, it's not the best way to do this. I love doing it in person and get a lot of energy from just being with everybody in the same room. But grateful that we have these tools that we can make it work and keep doing this work. So the technology is wonderful. It's going to help us have these conversations. But if it gets tedious at any point in time, please reach out and ask for help. You can do that through the chat. You can just raise your hand. You can ask Katie or Lisa or Jacob or myself. So whatever you need, if you need any assistance, let us know. All right, with that, I'm going to be quiet for a moment and see if the group has suggestions for ground rules and what do you need? What would be some helpful rules to have in place to help make this conversation as productive as it can be? Yes, Denise.
I think we all have to be active listeners.
Okay, yes. Other ground rules, yeah, active listening and anything. I mean, that's just important to be sure that we're understanding one another's perspectives. Who else? Other suggestions? Yeah, Commissioner Lyle Smith.
Thanks. So I just used the raised hand feature, but it would be good to know how you plan to moderate the discussion. How would you like for us to raise our hands, physical hand? What, I just want us to all be on the same page.
Yeah. So since I'm using I have dual screens here. I can see everybody's faces still. So if you either physically raise your hand or if you use the hand raise feature, I will catch it either way. And if for some reason I miss somebody, by all means, please tell me. But I'm comfortable either way. So you use the technology and use the hand raise feature if you know where that is, or just hold your hand up. The nice thing about using the hand raise feature on Zoom is that you don't have to sit there with your hand up. But if you need some movement, keep the hand up, It can be hard sitting in a chair. So let's go ahead and add that as a rule to use the hand raise feature or physically raise it so I know who wants to speak. What else? Other ground rules. Even if you guys have some that you use in regular meetings that are helpful. Yes, Greg.
One that we use in our library directors meeting, which I've always found pretty helpful, we abbreviate it as speak up and step back. And the idea is that when you have something to contribute, make sure that you're present and you share your expertise and your opinion, but then also be conscious and step back to allow room for conversation so that not one person is dominating the discussion.
I love that rule. Thank you, Greg. That's a good one. Other suggestions? I know it's been probably a long week, Friday night. I would like to suggest one. This is one I find comes in handy with all the groups, but just remember to assume positive intent. Again, sometimes we can disagree about things, and I feel like this year especially there's been lots of heated debates, and anyhow, people are coming from a good place. When I talk to all of you, everybody just expressed, they want to do the best thing for the community. So if we can just remember and assume positive intent throughout the course of our discussion, that would be great. Any others? Okay, the last one that I'll propose is we'll talk about this again in a moment with the process. Oh, Denise, she's got one.
Yeah, it's okay to, we can agree to disagree.
Yes, always. And the last one that I wanted to mention is, and this will come in handy tomorrow when we get into deciding what goals are going to move forward, but the process for that, if you all are okay with it, is I'll be checking in with each of the commissioners, and goals will move forward either with consensus from the 4 of you, or with a majority, or if it's split. Tony, what's the rule? If it's split, it doesn't go? That's how it would go in a normal meeting? Okay.
Yeah, typically if you make a motion and it's split, the motion fails.
Okay. This is a rule that just comes in handy in goal setting, because if you don't have a commission that has a majority that supports a goal, it can be really challenging to give staff that work to do, and then it comes forward and it doesn't get approved because it never had support. So that's the purpose for it. So if the commissioners are okay, I'd like to add that to the list as well. If you could just signify with a thumbs up or use a card. Okay. Does anybody have any issue with that? All right, I'm gonna.
Well, does that mean it can't be brought back up for reconsideration?
Yeah, I would say to an extent, but we also are going to stay on a timeline. So at some point, if we can't get to, If we can't get to a majority or a consensus, then we'll put it in the parking lot and you guys can readdress it at a future meeting, if that's okay. Does that process work? Okay. All right, so with consensus or majority, otherwise to the parking lot. I was doing some work with Hillsborough this week, and we needed a parking garage, so that was their solution. All right, so moving on. So we've got our ground rules, we have our roles. Last thing I want to cover in this intro section is just to talk us through the process and what you can expect for the next evening and day and a half, I guess we should say. All right, so first part of the process is to set the intention, and that's really what we just did. It's, you know, we set our goal. We're going to identify some shared goals and priorities. We noted we're going to refresh this process. We're going to talk through our, you know, clear roles and relationships and build camaraderie and unity. Tonight, we will also align with the city's vision. So I want to get you into kind of this future state of mind and imagine where we're headed 5 years from now. You know, what's our overall direction, so that we can align with that when we get into the goal setting piece. The next piece that we'll also do this evening is reviewing the accomplishments from 2020. So again, priming the mind with success, thinking about what we want to build on, celebrating and recognizing the good work that's been done. And then the last thing that we'll do tonight is reviewing the context. So we want to think about what are some of the challenges that we face? What opportunities or strengths can we leverage? You know, how has 2020 changed the environment and community needs? What do we need to be thinking about? And so this context is really going to help us see the big picture. Tomorrow, we will build on all of that. And you through this process, what we're going to do tonight, you're already going to start to see those ideas emerge. And so we will gather up all of the ideas tomorrow, thinking about what goals or strategies will help to move us towards the vision, see if there's any new ideas that should be considered. And then from that phase, we'll move into the goal refinement phase. And this is where we'll talk about which ideas should move forward as shared goals. When we set those goals, we're going to be clear about the desired outcome and have some conversation to make sure we understand what's motivating it. This is where, you know, we'll see what are some of the supporting actions that'll move us towards the goal and identify those. If there's thoughts or ideas about any metrics for how progress might be measured, we want to hear about that. And then the last piece of this will be to make the plan. And so that will be to confirm the consensus and or team agreement. We'll prioritize the list. Since you guys do a 2-year cycle, we want to be clear about understanding what you want to accomplish in this next year. What's the most important things, so that staff can have that clear direction on your priorities. And then have some conversation around how will we implement and report progress. So what does the structure look like? So any questions about this process? All right. Okay, then we are ready to move into our warm up and team building activity. So typically I would have you guys, we would have lots of markers out and I'd have you do some artwork because I visually facilitate. So I've had to transition to doing that virtually as you've been seeing on the mural board. But usually it's more fun to do it live. So this is the next best thing. I'm gonna have you guys do some team portraits. And so what that looks like, I'm going to draw. I will draw it. Don't worry. You don't have to draw. If you want to draw, you certainly can, and you can hold it up. But the things I want you to capture in your portrait, here we go with the share again. This is what it's going to look like. So first thing, your communication style. Again, I think understanding each other's communication styles is key to being able to build good partnerships. We need to know people's preferences. Some people are really analytical and like lots of data, like to process before they're ready to speak. Others like to think out loud. And so let's have just a general understanding of what's your communication style in a few words. Tell us what's the best part of this job, whether it's as a public servant and staff or as a commissioner. And then tell us what's the most challenging part. And then the last thing I want you to share is what's your bumper sticker? So your bumper sticker could be a favorite quote, it could be a favorite saying, it could be something original that guides you in your daily work. I got this idea. I read this book recently, Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, and he has these bumper sticker sections throughout, and there's just really fun words of wisdom. So have fun with your bumper sticker. Tell us what yours is. And again, you can draw this if you want to share, or just write down your responses, and I'll be drawing it and I'll put these all on the board. So at the end of our session, I will export all of this artwork, all of these graphics, so that you have a graphic record of all of the work that we did together. So any questions about what we're doing? Okay.
I have a question. Are we doing this for ourselves, or are we like calling out? Are we doing it? Are we suggesting for others?
No, you're doing it for yourself. You may have some comments on what others say. There's always a few of those, but you're doing it for yourself. And the key is to keep this exercise moving along. You only get a minute to present. So make sure you're being concise. You don't get to have a bumper sticker that's a paragraph long. So be concise in how you put your responses together.
Yeah, John.
All right, I'm going to keep this up on the screen so you can see it. And take a few minutes to jot down your ideas for responses while I get ready to record. All right. If you're still working, that's okay. I'll let you guys volunteer for this one on who wants to go first. So whoever's ready. Katie's excited. She's raising her hand. All right, Katie, tell us a little about you.
Okay. So my style of communication is pretty much blunt, right to the point, no reason to sugarcoat it. Best part of the job is working with the team you see right here in these wonderful pictures. I absolutely love our team. Our staff team is amazing. So is our commission, but our staff team absolutely 100%. Most challenging part of the job is the things that I have no control over that I want to have control over. That is the most challenging part of my job. And what is my bumper sticker? Probably not appropriate to say on TV, so I had to modify it. And it says, sweet on the outside, sassy in the middle.
All right. Give me a moment to capture. Okay, who's going to go next? All right, Greg's going to volunteer. Okay.
All right, communication style. I think I am a consensus builder, and generally I'm more of a listener than a talker. Well, the best part of my job, and I focused on being in the library, it's the sparkle in somebody's eyes when they are describing a book or a film or a piece of music that means something to them, and just sharing that emotion with them. The most challenging part of the job is that we've got an endless amount of opportunities, and choosing between those to achieve the biggest impact that we can. It can be challenging and sometimes frustrating. And my bumper sticker, it's a quote from the great UCLA coach, John Wooden, that I use all the time. It's "Be quick, but don't hurry."
Okay, be quick, but don't hurry. All right, thanks, Greg. Who's volunteering to go next? Okay, Laura, take it away.
All right. My communication style is direct. I like data. I like to talk out loud and get people's opinions and then take a minute and think about it and process it. The best part of this job is that I really feel like I am helping people in the community have a better life. Sometimes it feels bureaucratic how we get there, but I really think that we are improving people's lives and that feels good to me. The most challenging thing, we may all say the same thing that Greg is saying, that there's so many good things that we could do, but if we could always have more people and time and money, that would be great, but to focus. And then my bumper sticker, just to help make the world a better place. Not too original, but I'm sunshine and rainbows over here.
All right, thanks, Laura. Who wants to go next? If you guys don't start volunteering, I'll have to call on people, which is fine too. Tony.
So for a communication style, I had focusing on listening, consensus building, and then a gentle authority decision making. Best part of the job is seeing the celebration and thankfulness from the community when we do something well. Most challenging part of the job is trying to find the best option to situations when really there are not a lot of good options. And then my bumper sticker would be the long game wins.
The long game wins. What was the most challenging part, did you say again?
Oh, trying to find the best option to situations when there's really no good ones.
Okay. All right, thanks, Tony. Need a second for my pen to catch up. Okay. Hopefully in that second somebody came up. All right, we got John next.
All right, so let's see. First of all, I am the PowerPoint pro, in case you didn't know. Commissioner O'Donnell will testify to this. So PowerPoint is a great way to communicate, by the way, and multiple slides helps. I'll just say that. I do also like in-person communication. Although I think there's way too much of it, you know, email's kind of awesome, but too much. But I like the idea of spreading the word to many quickly. I'm not a big surprise guy. I'm not in love with surprises. So that's, I guess, I don't know if that's any of that's a communication style, but that's what I put down.
Okay.
Let's see, the best part of the job, I love working with passionate people. I love solving real world problems that I think the community, especially if the community needs them. I like variety. So, you know, my job, there's seldom a day of similar work. It's always something different. So I do like the variety. Most challenging part, balancing resources against a long list of needs is challenging. I worry about it a lot. I'm kind of a worrywart. So trying to figure out how to touch everybody with a little bit of resources we have is kind of important for me. And then working with, I guess I hate working with unsupportive people on problems that require collaboration. So that's something. I'm sorry, my phone's going off again. Stop. And then my bumper sticker is work hard, play hard.
All right. Simple and easy. Okay, thanks, John. Let's see, Kristen.
Okay, my communication style, I wrote down, I'm a group thinker. I like to hear from everybody before I spit something out, but my job is to make information that's maybe very technical, very easy to understand. So truly my communication style is an emoji, because if we can tell it in a quick, easy way, folks are more likely to understand it, take it, and move on. Best part of my job, echo what Katie says, everybody in the square makes the job so great. And internally, I have built such a great group of communicators. Most challenging part of the job is definitely change and getting people to work differently, so that way you're getting information to be able to put out to the community. That's just me personally. In my bumper sticker, Sarah, I read Matthew McConaughey's book too, and I had to go back and find the bumper sticker, or the motto that I love the most from him. And it's not whether you win or lose, or whether you accept the challenge. And I think that's just true of everything in life. There's not really a win-lose, but there's always a challenge.
That one's a longer one. Hold on, I got it right. Whether you accept the challenge. It's a good one though. Thank you, Kristen. Okay, let's see. Next we have James.
Let's see. I am, in terms of my communication style, I am a direct communication type person with a little bit of humor. In terms of the best part of my job, I like negotiation. It's kind of a sickness. In terms of challenges, the challenging part of my job, unraveling confusion. It happens a lot in government. Once one person says something, and then by the time it gets to you, it's a totally different story. And I would say the bumper sticker would be, because I really hate paralysis through analysis. My bumper sticker will say, "Let's do this."
All right. Let's do this. When we get through this exercise, we can all shout that. Okay. Let's see. Commissioner Lyle Smith.
Yes, so for communication style, I like to gather a lot of information before I make any comments or decisions. But once I've done that, I'm with Katie. I'm her spirit animal in that sense. I'm direct, detailed, honest. I don't feel the need to do a lot of sugarcoating either. The best part of the job is making a difference and seeing change happen on the ground. Government tends to move slowly, and it can be very frustrating, but at the local level, it's the best place to work in government and see a difference with the decisions you make. And I love that part. The most challenging for me is the workload. And similar to what John Lewis said, I worded it as budget limitations. But I would love to do a lot more, but that pesky budget is out there. And then my bumper sticker, most of you have probably seen this necklace. I wear it all the time. On the back of this heart has my bumper sticker, and it says, "Trust your journey."
All right. Trust your journey. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Rocky, you're up next.
Oh boy, this was a tough one. So sometimes my communication style is just visual, like my eyes or my, I intend, to kind of do that instead of like having to use words sometimes. I guess I'm also blunt and honest, but I prefer that from people. And I'm really goal oriented. And so once I'm set on a decision, I'm kind of stuck with it unless I can go through a process to change it. And I can, but that's a lengthy process to rationalize it. What's the best part of the job? I think being able to work on something and see a plan or a goal come to fruition, to be able to see an accomplishment that maybe the city's been working on forever or for several years, and have that finished. I think the downside is wanting to accomplish a lot of things and being able to, you know, that's limited. And I think Rachel brought that up, and a couple people, that whether it's budget wise or just that there's so much on the plate, we're limited to how many things that we can really accomplish. And so you really have to kind of hone in on that. I had several bumper stickers, but I think I'll say, don't give up. Don't give up, or don't settle. One of those two.
We can do both.
Okay, good.
Okay, because I can fit it all in the square, so, or in the rectangle.
All in one bumper sticker?
All on one, I got it. Don't give up.
John, actually, I also have this bumper sticker.
Oregon,
John, you know this?
New Pioneer Spirit.
So maybe we bring that back.
All right, thank you, Rocky. Let's see, who wants to go next? Patrick.
All right, I'm good. So just coming from being an HR professional, I often have to be calculated and filtered when I speak and talk. I really, although I can be pretty good at it, I don't like it. I'd much rather be candid and just get it all out there. My favorite part of the job and most challenging part of the job are kind of the same thing. It's just the people that you get to work with. In human resources, I get to interact and support everyone throughout the entire organization. And, you know, I love that. I love getting to connect with people and getting to know people at every corner of the organization. But it also, we are all humans. We are all different. And the human part of us can be the most challenging. Our differences get in the way of doing things right. And that can make things tough. But, and then bumper sticker. I was trying to think of a good one. I don't know if anybody watches The Office, but I do everything in my power not to be Toby. I just don't want to ever have to be that version of human resources. So that's, I was trying to think of a good one, but I couldn't. So other than like, don't call me Toby.
Don't be Toby. All right.
Toby.
Do you think Toby's T-O-B-Y?
Probably.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Patrick. Always love a good Office reference. Okay, who wants to go next? Okay, Jim, go for it.
My communication style is like some other people. I think James said it. Kind of a cut to the chase with a splash of humor, I think, is probably how I operate. Best part is, I think, the team. We didn't have a lot of turnover at our department, and I think that's for a reason there. And I really love the people that I work with and for, and just extremely proud of that. Most challenging, I think, probably right now is the climate. It's a tough policing climate, and because of the best part is the team, it makes it more challenging to sort of keep everybody focused right now and keep them from giving up, keep morale up. That's fairly challenging right now. The city certainly makes that better with their support of the police. Bumper sticker, I've never had one, but it did make me think. I was at 7th and Washington one time, and I actually took a picture, and I was behind a car, and the bumper sticker said, "Jim sucks." And I thought, this guy doesn't even know me. But I was trying to come up with a scenario where somebody would have gotten a bumper sticker that said "Jim sucks," and I never came up with a good answer. But it's the most memorable bumper sticker I've ever seen.
All right, I'm going to write it down. This is the strangest one I've heard yet. But thanks, Chief. Thanks for the laugh. Okay, let's see, Lisa.
Okay, so my communication style, I guess I would say, is functional. I tend to be more detail-oriented and methodical. I really like to think about what I'm going to say before I speak, and make it a little more personal. I would say the best part of my job is everyone that I work with, and that I'm never bored. I always have so many different tasks to work through that I feel like I'm never doing the same thing twice in one day. Challenge would be more, I guess, pandemic related. I'm the type of person that when I talk to someone, I like to see them face to face, to have a conversation or to ask a question, which is much harder to do in this virtual landscape and social distancing. And then my bumper sticker would be, I guess, my motto for myself this year: great things never come from comfort zones.
All right, I love that. Great things. Okay. Let's see, Jacob and then Denise.
So I'd say my communication style is sort of honest. I'm also, I think, focused, and that kind of ends up being sort of a minimalist communication style. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah,
is the people. I really love meeting new people, and everybody I've met at the city has been wonderful. It's something that I really like about the job. Is something I like bringing order to chaos, and so I get to do a lot of that at the city. And the material itself is actually really interesting. So I'm never bored with anything I'm doing.
what about
the most challenging, I'd say. What's that?
Oh, sorry, it froze for a second. I was going to say, tell us the most challenging. You got it. Go for it.
And the most challenging, I'd say, is the so many different directions going on in the city at once. It's kind of hard. Yeah, part of my job is kind of know a little bit about everything, and so far there's just a lot to learn. So that's the most challenging so far. And I'll reveal my nerdiness. It's a Dune quote. My bumper sticker is "Fear is the mind killer."
Fear is the mind killer?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of quote is this?
It's a quote from Dune.
Dune. Okay. All right. Wanted to make sure I heard it right. Thank you, Jacob. Okay. Let's see. Denise, you're up.
Did she get it off mute?
Oh, there she is.
I'm going to start by saying that I have been in public service for my entire career. And I want you to note that I didn't use the word servant. I am not a servant, and neither are any of you. We are in public service. And what that practice is all about for me is about a word called SEVA, S-E-V-A. And it means selfless service. And I think that my entire life has kind of led to that since I've worked in the public sector my entire career, which is, it's all about SEVA. I would say that my communication style is, pardon?
I just said, how did you spell that?
SEVA, S-E-V-A.
S-E-V-A. Thank you. Okay.
S-E-V-A.
Got it.
SEVA.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I believe it's a Hindu word. My communication style is I like to be in the presence of the person that I'm talking with. Or I will talk on the phone, and I know many of you bemoan the fact that I do not have email on my very strategic, specific reason why. Call me because the phone will be there, but the email will not always be on. I have learned to listen to people, ask questions, because it's not always the first. My saying to people is, I know there's a rest of the story. What's the rest of the story? You're only telling me part of it, and my instincts are telling me there's more to it. So once I have the entire story, I can formulate a response, and I want to be measured in my response, but I also want to be kind and thoughtful in my response. But I also like cutting to the chase too, but you can do that and be kind and thoughtful in your process. So the best part of this particular job of being a city commissioner is similar to my role when I was on the planning commission, is collaborative problem solving. I like to solve problems or direct people to resources where they can solve the problem themselves. I would have to say that the most challenging part of it is not being able to have all the tools or resources available to solve problems. Budget that I could say, here, I've got some cash. Here's how we can solve this problem. Sometimes it was a money solution, sometimes it wasn't. So I'm looking forward to having resources to help solve problems collaboratively. I've got a number of bumper stickers, and I'll start with one that's on my car. It says, I brake for old buildings. And I do. Sometimes I don't brake, sometimes I swerve off the road, but I try to do it safely. I think the other thing that I would like to say about that is when I was at a protest rally in Estacada, I carried a sign that said, wake up, speak up, and stand up. And I still believe that. And the one I used most recently is quoting Dr. King. I believe very strongly in that. We're past the point of time in our nation, our state, our city to sit back and be silent, because silence only encourages things to happen that really shouldn't happen. So speaking up, standing up is important, and helping to do what's right is also important.
All right, thank you, Denise. You were breaking up a little bit, but I think I got it all. Okay, let's see, who haven't we heard from? I know there's just a few left. All right, Commissioner O'Donnell.
So my communication style is generally very direct. There's things that I like in-person communication because I can pick up on the nonverbal indicators, the body language, which is lacking oftentimes in these kind of meetings. I like the information presented to me to be compact, concise. I'm looking for clarity. I don't want to get it lost in the choice of smooth words. Just give it to me. Hit me between the eyes and I'll sort it out. I like the facts. I don't need an abundance of facts, just enough to make the decision. And don't baffle me with BS, because that's a real turnoff. The best part of this job, look at this group of people here. I mean, there's people here I never would have gotten to meet except having taken on this volunteer position. And that's one of the great rewards of it. I like healing and protecting the community. I like bringing solutions to difficult problems. I like bringing people together in consensus. The worst part of the job, maybe the most challenging, sometimes I find that working within the confines of other governmental structures like the state, the county, and metro is incredibly frustrating. I feel that they don't understand our local situation, yet that doesn't keep them from imposing restrictions on us. I'm surprised Denise didn't choose this sticker either, because it's something we share. And it also is a paraphrase of Martin Luther King, which is, it's always the right time to do the right thing.
All right, I love that one. It's the
Yep.
right time to do the right thing. Okay, who is left? All right, we have Kendall. Go for it, Kendall. I'm ready.
A communication style I would categorize as efficient, direct, and reserved. The best part of the job for me is having the ability to make things better and to serve the community and serve the staff. My bumper sticker would be, if you don't have a plan to serve, you don't have a purpose. The most challenging part of the job right now is being separated from my staff.
Okay, well, just capturing that. Don't have a plan to serve, you don't have a purpose. And being separated from staff. All right, thanks, Kendall. Let's see, anyone else? Did everybody go? Matt, are we still waiting on you?
Well, I am a Zook, so I'm used to being last.
All right, fair enough.
My communication style is thorough, detailed, and then summarize it at the end. Best part of the job is working with people. I like the balance of between working with people and teams versus and then also working with numbers. Probably the most challenging part of the job is just managing all the different the details. It's easy to get sucked in the details. I can make a short story long, but I don't have that luxury any longer. My bumper sticker, probably appropriate for a finance director. A penny saved is a penny earned, so it's budget time.
All right. Yeah, you have to expect something like that from the finance director. Okay, did I miss anybody? I think we got everyone. All right. Let's see. Up next we have, thank you. I will post all of your graphics on the board so that you guys will get to see your portrait gallery. Okay, last thing is just a quick, to expedite this and save some time. I'm hoping, I know Katie turned on our chat feature for tonight. And so I'm hoping you guys can put this in the chat. So I just want you to reflect on the last year and share what accomplishment or progress that occurred in the city, something that you're particularly proud of and that deserves some recognition and celebration. So if you could type that up and put it in the chat, I will grab it from there and we can just do a quick share. And if anybody's uncomfortable doing this, just raise your hand and speak up and I will just capture yours. But if you are okay with just putting it in the chat, that will help us to save a little time on this.
Can you say the question again?
Yeah, so just an accomplishment or just some progress that occurred in the last year that you're particularly proud of and that you want to recognize and celebrate. All right, so John has out there completed, on our way of completing several projects that will further motivate staff and fulfill expectations of the community.
Where's the chat?
What was that?
Where's the chat at? Is it under reactions or more?
It should be right next on my screen. It's right next to participants on the bottom bar there. Does it show up there for you? If it could be under more. Usually if it's not on the bar, it's under more.
Yeah,
got it. You got it? Okay, great. A lot of things on here, response to COVID. A lot of accomplishments in that regard, and wildfires. I always forget that one. September feels like ages ago. Let's see here. Did everybody get one in? Are we still waiting on anybody? Okay, one more. There's a lot of good ones on here. Let's see. I think I've almost got them all. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. We'll zoom in on these. You can just see them all at once. So a lot of them. So completing several projects, moving forward in the finance department, performing all duties with 2 key vacancies, programs and strategies to help the community survive COVID, reimagine opportunity. I'm guessing that's probably fund. Staff's ability to pivot during COVID, adapting to the pandemic. Again, there's so many. That was such a huge thing this year and really something to be proud of. Keeping people safe, healthy, and provide a great service. Proud of the library staff's flexibility, innovation, positivity, dedication in providing those services. Development and construction of Tyrone S. Woods Memorial Park, DC La Tourette Park, and the Filbert Run Park, all 3 scheduled to be completed this year. That's huge. City's response to COVID in a variety of ways and the fires. Police department at the top of the city survey. You know, they thought they were going to be last and they were first. Establishing a welcome commission and gaining the trust of the community, a welcoming commission environment. Let's see, OC 2040, the comp plan update. As you know, leading the policy or the document that leads on growth and development and public investment. So lots of existing relationships and new relationships to get lots of unprecedented engagement. Oh gosh, more park progress, public works groundbreaking, first person of color on the city commission, not the last. Waterboard park and reducing legal cases, police department opening. Let's see, passing both the exam and application process for Oregon procurement basic certification. So it sounds like procurement and contract needs are going to be dialed in for the city, and avoiding the destruction and harm that Portland encountered. Yes, lucky you guys. All right. Did I miss anybody's? Oh, it looks like there was one more that came in. 4 major park projects, COVID response, big road projects, new police building and new public works building underway, and a behavioral health specialist on staff. Yeah, so a round of applause for the Oregon City team. You guys did, this is a huge list. And I do think that just the COVID response piece and maintaining all the services for the public in light of all of that is an accomplishment to really be celebrated. Any final thoughts or reflections on that before we move on? Okay. Well, we're going to build on that success this year. And I want to go ahead and get into our environmental scan. And so this is where we're going to start with the staff updates. And staff is going to share a little bit about these topics. I'm not sure what order they're going to go in, but it's economic development, tourism, housing, homelessness, infrastructure needs, and DEI. So while staff is talking, I'll leave the screen on so you can see faces, but I will be capturing the notes so that you have a record of that. And then we'll get into our small groups and start our context mapping exercise. So staff.
I need a 5-minute break. I just put up my sign.
Okay, let's go ahead. We can take 5 minutes then. So let's just, it's 6:24 just to make it an even number. Let's take a break till 6:30 and then we will kick off with these updates.
Thank you for laughing, Laura.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, and feel free during the breaks, turn off your videos and mute. We'll come back at 6:30. All right. Everybody's making their way back. Tony, do you know which which topic you're gonna start with?
Why don't we just go straight down what's on the agenda? We'll go infrastructure, we'll go then public works, then we'll go homeless, which would be banned.
Okay, perfect.
We'll just go straight down it. And then I had a couple things at the end.
Okay. All right. Okay, so infrastructure is up first.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to go through this. Put some words together, so I'm going to go ahead and read through that. I just wanted to acknowledge that while it seems like the demands on the Oregon City's existing infrastructure or demands for more infrastructure always seem to be at the forefront. Yet Oregon City's leadership in the past and in the present have been forward thinking about local investments on infrastructure. The practice of adjusting utility rates annually in accordance with inflation means that we've been able to handle the ongoing operations and maintenance requirements of our infrastructure. The decision in 2008 to implement a pavement maintenance utility fee was a bold decision that without, we'd be talking about how to convert our streets back to gravel roads. That said, today's infrastructure faces a broad range of complex challenges, including rising costs, aging systems, regulation, higher customer expectations, not to mention rapidly evolving technology. Hundreds of thousands of dollars are needed each year to renew and replace outdated pipes, pumps, storage facilities, ensure homes and businesses can get clean water, and that the infrastructure is in proper working order to be able to carry away sewage and stormwater. I understand community aggravation with the ever increasing rates. I feel the same way. As the materials we use to do the work continues to go up, the cost to hire the right employees, consultants, and contractors, and the increasing cost to manage regulatory requirements is also escalating. Unfortunately, even with the responsible rate setting, local, state, and federal funding is only meeting a fraction of the current needs. However, for this goal setting exercise, I remain enthused that you have made responsible decisions around adoption of master plans, infrastructure improvements, and fiscal policy. I was thrilled when I heard that each city commissioner brought up infrastructure and the need to address our infrastructure needs. Just keep in mind, remember that the master planning for sewer and transportation are complete. Our sewer fund is strong, but funding for transportation congestion relief is still a challenge. The water and stormwater master plans are complete, but we still have rates and developer charges to tackle. And I'm hopeful these water and stormwater investment needs can be better addressed in the city's 2021-2023 goals. That's all I have, Sarah.
All right. Thank you, John. Let's see, who's up next?
And Kendall will be next with parks.
Okay.
Yep. All right. I am happy to announce that we're in the process of hiring a consultant to do our deferred maintenance assessment and our capital improvement plan for our Oregon City parks. And that also includes all of the city facilities. This report will provide a comprehensive inventory and assessment of all our parks and our recreation facilities. It will also include the police station, library, and our parking lots. The assessment will help us identify the needs for the immediate repairs, preventative maintenance, to address the deferred project backlog and capital replacement. The final report will provide information on the overall condition of our parks and our facilities, list immediate needs, replacement costs, and help us develop a 5 to 20 year forecast of maintenance requirements and adjust costs for inflation. All proposals were due today at 4 p.m. We plan to award the contract on February 17th. We will schedule several meetings to provide progress reports to the City Commission and to PRAC. We are expecting the project to take approximately 2 to 3 months, but we're very excited about the progress that we've currently made with our deferred projects in capital improvement. This current biennium, we've already cleared about $740,000 worth of capital projects, and we look forward to discussing this further with the City Commission and PRAC and developing funding mechanisms to address this issue in the future.
All right, thanks, Kendall. Who's up next?
Next, we'll go with Jim.
So,
Jim, before you start, there's a question. So will the Parks report be ready enough to feed into the budget discussion?
That is the plan, to have all that information ready for the budget discussion.
Okay, great, thank you. Sorry about that, Jim.
Sure. Homelessness obviously came up a lot in the survey. It comes up a lot every day and in questions that people have. And there's been sort of an evolution of how we've learned to serve the homeless population and also how to respond to people in the community in terms of what we're doing. I sort of have gotten where I break things down in terms of homelessness, and I see 2 categories. And services is what we've been pretty heavy on providing. Cleaning up things, serving some of the mental health issues that are out there, getting people into housing. These sort of things that are working on what's happening today in the lives of the community. And I think we've done a really good job of that. Obviously never enough, but I can tell you we're doing more than cities a lot larger than us in terms of staffing and effort. The piece that I think is missing is the political piece. And I think that as a city, we need to start getting a little bit political with this in terms of our interaction with the county. Some examples of that, I don't know if you've seen in the paper recently, but the county not too long ago said they were going to buy a motel in the county, and they were going to do some kind of short-term housing in there to help the homeless. And then they decided they were not going to buy that. They said they were going to buy one in Estacada. And it was not very long that there was another article saying that they had decided not to buy the one in Estacada. And what had happened was they'd made this decision. The city of Estacada found out about it. The residents, there'd been no public process, so the citizens were angry. And so the county said, hey, we better hit the brakes here. I read a comment there from one of the commissioners had said something about reaching out to the Homeless Solutions Coalition. And I'm trying to be quick here, but the problem I see is that I think that, the county's trying to do the right thing. There's a lot of metro money that's becoming available with that last bond that passed, and a lot of decisions that are going to need to be made. And we have a lot of boards and committees that meet that involve commissioners, but not on homelessness. There is no communication between cities and the county in a formal way about what are we doing regionally. And that is the thing that we really need to start digging into, is how are we looking this as a region so that all of those day-to-day services we're talking about aren't located in one place, which is right now Oregon City and a couple other small places.
All right. Thank you, Chief. And we're going to have a chance to talk more about this, these questions and these topics when we get into our group context mapping conversation. So I see there was another question about parks, but I'll make sure that we cover that before we wrap everything up. All right, Tony, who's next?
We're going to go with Laura. She's going to talk a little bit about housing and the construction excise tax.
All right. We've heard concerns that many of our citizens are spending more and more on housing, and they're unable to stay and live in neighborhoods they love because it doesn't meet their housing needs or their economic circumstances. Though the cost of housing is dependent on a variety of inputs, there are strategies we can use to encourage development of housing that fits our needs. Conversely, we can also set policies and practices that directly or indirectly constrain our housing supply or drive up costs. So many decisions we make affect housing supply. We've already been working to advance housing opportunities with things such as the vertical housing development zone, dedicating the past few years to amending our zoning code to remove and reduce barriers to housing, and committing to doing it again for the next year and a half in order to comply with House Bill 2001 for missing middle housing. The Commission has also advanced discussions about urban renewal, a quiet zone, construction excise tax, which may be a tool for financing potential strategies by taxing new development. On the regional level, Metro Housing Bond provided some funding to about 170 affordable housing units at the intersection of Beaver Creek and 213. And in May of 2020, the supportive housing and services measure that Jim mentioned was approved by voters for those experiencing homelessness or at risk of experiencing homelessness, and it can provide funds for things such as rent assistance. Moving forward, we could continue to work and identify other ways to support the development of affordable or workforce housing. There's a variety of strategies ranging from strategic use of lands we already own, inclusionary zoning, annexing land only if there's a minimum level of affordable housing, reduced SCCs, demolition tax, caps on rent increases, changing when we require STCs to be paid in the construction process, strategic investment in infrastructure, engaging on a regional platform, and a whole lot more. If the Commission moves forward with the goal to remove barriers and incentivize affordable or missing middle housing, staff will work together to identify a menu of strategies to help you implement your goal. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Laura. Let's see, what's next, Tony?
Patrick is going to give a little update on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay. All right, Patrick.
Thanks. Yes, staff is excited that the Commission has asked to elevate diversity, equity, and inclusion to this level of goal setting and conversation. We're excited about that. Back in June, obviously, of 2020, the Commission's actions to approve Resolution 20-19, declaring Oregon City's stance against racism, discrimination, and social injustices in our country and community was an important step, essentially a cornerstone to this work. So that resolution states that the city supports efforts to advance racial equity, will identify and remove barriers to success in equity, it will work to create a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community and workplace. And it also states that the city will create a safe space for conversations, learning opportunities, and advancing policies to fight systemic racism and inequity. So that resolution affirmed the city's position, and now we're charged with taking action to support those statements. I think this is a great opportunity to explore what successful DEI efforts look like, especially in Oregon City, and what specific goals that we can set. It's evident that this work that we have a lot of work to do and have areas to improve in this endeavor, and it's clearly a journey, not just a set of tasks. But I would like to say and highlight some of the current and good work the city has implemented. For instance, the library does provide programs and space for learning and community conversation, sometimes specifically on race. The city's leadership team and police department have participated in some trainings focused on understanding bias, engaging in difficult conversations, and what it means to deconstruct bias. And also our community development department, as part of their current Oregon City 2040 comprehensive plan update, implemented some new methods of engagement to intentionally reach a wide range of participants and to essentially elevate voices of underrepresented groups. So, but for this setting and the process of setting goals, we think it's a great opportunity to strategize and envision what's next, consider how we might organize and formalize our efforts, or how we might define success for Oregon City. We think there are plenty of opportunities both internally at the staff level and at the commission/community level to advance this important work. So thanks for the time. And we're looking forward to exploring this topic with the Commission.
Great, thank you, Patrick. All right. Somebody wants to know what you're eating. Rocky wants to know.
Me?
Is that me?
Me? It's not me.
No.
Denise.
I had a Dorito. Next, we got James on the economic development and tourism.
As many of you know, 2020 was a year that we all would like to forget and we will forget. But it has been a time for economic development to conduct itself in ways that we've never thought we would be doing. And that is helping businesses stay open. And in addition to that, we also were involved in the process of implementing the city's tourism strategic plan. And we developed 5 programs to address implementation, but there's so much to do, much more to do in that way. Urban renewal, a conversation is still going on, and looking forward to that conversation coming to a conclusion so that we can determine which way, which direction we'd like to go. Urban renewal is the only economic development incentive that the city has. And so therefore the potential for using it in ways to promote growth and establish a quality of life, a good quality of life for our citizens it's there, of course. And of course, enabling more people to live downtown, and encouraging its own ecosystem for those businesses is extremely important as we go forward. The Economic Development Steering Committee is proceeding, and hopefully by early winter, we would have an economic development strategic plan that would feed into the urban renewal situation, depending on how that outcome comes. So that's the report I have today.
All right, thank you, James.
Thanks, James. I'll just wrap up real quick with, what I really appreciated about the work that Sarah did was that when she reached out to each of the city commissioners, we got a pretty good understanding of what some of the challenges were, what some of the opportunities were. And simultaneously, while we were reaching out to staff, we saw a lot of overlap. So the intention here is not to go through every single thing that was identified, but there were a lot of areas where when we looked at challenges that the commission had identified, so we wanted to just talk about those just briefly, Lee, that they're on our radar as well. We're thinking about those things. We're actually, some of these we're already doing work on, and the commission has already provided guidance on some of these. And so we don't want to get too down into the nitty gritty implementation of it, because I think we're all in agreement that these are probably important goals for the city moving forward. The 2 things that I wanted to talk about was that over the last year or so, some of the things that we heard during commission meetings were things that were kind of parked into this weekend. Charter amendments and a discussion about that, marijuana allocation and the funding that comes in for that, nonprofit events, how those are worked, are they city sponsored, and then pedestrian safety as it relates to infrastructure. As it relates to the existing goals that the commission have, some of the things that we identified there where, in my opinion, we're not done yet, or decisions haven't been finalized. The railroad quiet zone, the citywide facility planning. So that was looking at, once we got PD and court situated, and we know now what's happening with parks and public works, is there still that need for that overall citywide planning of our facilities? And then the other 2 related to parks were the waterfront master plan and then the parks and recreation master plan. So those are some of those that we might not get to by the end in the next 5 months by the end of the biennium. So like I said, this wasn't meant to be a deep dive into these. It was more of, here's some of the things that we've talked about. Here's some of the decisions. Here's some of the directions that we're taking on those. And some of these, like I said, we've started to address through the work that we've been doing over the last 2 years.
Tony, can you just repeat the one that you mentioned after nonprofit events? I got everything else, but I missed that one.
I think it was looking at pedestrian safety and bike safety as it relates to infrastructure.
Okay.
Whether that's, gaps in sidewalks, protected crosswalkings, those type of things.
Okay, thank you. My typing's pretty good, but sometimes it lags a little. Okay, there were a couple questions that came up that hopefully we can just quickly address these. So Denise asked, didn't we in the past for parks, what about an overall public facilities plan? Denise, was your question addressed at all during the conversation, or should we have somebody address that?
No, somebody else also brought it up. It was the fact that we had done an inventory, so we knew what our parks deficiencies were in terms of the number that was put up on the screen on the chat. But so the other question that came up in addition to my question was, how does that differ from what we already did before?
I think that there were some concerns raised about how the methodology behind that number and how good the number was. So part of what Kendall's doing is really trying to look at what are those costs associated with them, so that we have a solid number when we come back to try to figure out what are those options for moving forward. You know, how much of this do we take on, and in what method? Because, you know, I agree, a lot of work has been done, and when we talk about, you know, we narrowed down some of the funding options that were available. We were starting to focus in, so really trying to pick that work up and begin to run with that.
Okay. The next question that came up from Commissioner O'Donnell, other than urban renewal, are we pursuing any other development strategies such as enterprise zones, local improvement districts, et cetera? Is there a quick response to this? I know you guys are going to talk more about urban renewal when we get into the context, so I don't want to dive too deep, but if there's a quick response, can we give the short answer? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Yes. There is much to be done, but we already have those existing programs. So it's important that we sort of take those existing strategies and meld them into the either when the urban renewal, whatever the decision is for the urban renewal, or whatever we do going forward in terms of the economic development strategic plan.
All right, thank you, James. And let's see, last questions from Denise here. By local programs for the city, promotion of minority women-owned, I forget what that whole acronym stands for, but oh, there we go. Minority women-owned emerging small business. Is that related to the DEI, the equity piece, Denise? Is that an idea?
It can cover both, but it is a program, economic development type program. I was responding to the other comment about enterprise zones, local improvement districts, and I was putting in other programs that we might think about implementing to help our businesses all over the community.
Okay. All right, I'll just note it down there. It's an option. Okay, and then last thing, seismic loans, tenant improvements, storefront improvements, 50-50 matching grant process. And is this towards economic development as well? Okay, excellent, thank you. All right, I want to explain this activity. So we just took a break, so hopefully everybody's good for a bit. If we can get through this small group conversation, if we need another short break, we can take one. Since we took 5 earlier, we can take another 5 after this. But I want to get you guys rolling in these small groups to have some discussion. Now that we've heard about the staff updates, you've had a chance to think through, just celebrate these accomplishments. I want to start to think about the rest of the picture. And so the way we want to work through this is to think about the context. And there's a couple categories that in your small groups, I want you to think about. So you should have received the template ahead of time, but I don't know that the categories were already listed on there. So if you want to write these down, what I want you to do in your small groups is come up with at least a couple points under each of these categories to be able to share to help build our bigger context. So our categories will be growth trends that you're seeing in the community, political factors, like there was one mentioned, I think it was Commissioner O'Donnell maybe, who said something about something that was challenging about the job was maybe the government structures of the, just the other entities that can sometimes place mandates or restrictions or can just make it hard. So things like that of a political nature. So whether it's regional or local or federal, whatever those political factors are that are impacting the way you get work done. Also around the economic climate, I think almost all of you mentioned how tough it is. The worst part of the job is not having enough resources to get things done. So what else is going on in the economic climate that impacts the work you do? Community needs. So again, I think you had a community survey that was done to even prepare for this session. You guys do community surveys, you've done tons of outreach with your comp plan. So I know that you're here, and some of you just do a lot of outreach and are really engaged in the community anyway. So what are some of the things that you're hearing as far as community needs that we want to be thinking about as we go into goal setting? The other category, this one comes up a lot. Technology is impacting the way we work and the way we do things. I think it was John who mentioned just even the technology and how you guys manage infrastructure is shifting. And I think if anything in 2020, especially, we've seen how much technology has transformed the way we deliver services. So I want you to have some conversations around technology trends and how it's impacting local government. And then also the uncertainties. I think it was Commissioner Lyle Smith who said, I want to be thinking about some uncertainties, or how do we plan for that? And this is a place to at least name them. It's important to name them so that we can be thoughtful about how might we manage for that in the future. Is there a way to manage for it? You know, if we at least have a list and have something out there, it'll just get us thinking. And then last, other community trends, anything that's not covered that's just coming to mind that you want to make sure gets on the page so that we're thinking about it as we go into the goal setting, here's a space to add that. So those are your categories. And again, if we can come up with at least, you know, 3 things per group under each one, you'll probably come up with more, but at a minimum, try to come up with 3. And then I want you to do this in small groups because it just gives more time for some in-depth conversation. And then we'll come back together as a group to report out. Yeah, so for the scribes, so Jacob and Lisa are going to be helping to record. I'm not going to have you guys record directly in Mural. Well, you can maybe find a blank space on here and just capture the notes and make sure it's clear that what the categories are. And as we talk through it, I'll move it onto the template, okay? Does that give clear direction on that? All right, any questions about what we're doing? Yes, Denise.
I apologize. There is no hand raised on my reactions tab. So I don't have any way to raise my hand with the computer. So let me ask this overall question. So we gave a brief overview, and you know this from my conversation with you about DEI. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, it is the umbrella that covers everything on your chart. And how am I going to capture that? Because it will affect all of these things, not just individually.
We could take that other community trends category and just call that DEI if the group's okay with that, or we can just create another category for DEI. Any preferences?
Well, like I said, it's the umbrella. It's not a category. If we're going to truly go into DEI as a community and as a city, it affects everything that we do.
Okay, well, maybe in that regard, we can just, if you guys can use that lens as you look at each category, and as you go through each category, thinking about that lens of DEI and how does it play into growth trends? How does it play into political factors, economics? And so just challenge both groups that there's going to be 2 to be thinking through that lens. Would that be helpful? I'm seeing a couple heads shaking. Denise, I'm looking for your reaction since you raised this.
Yeah, it's helpful only, but the thing that we haven't done is we haven't decided what our DEI lens needs to be. So we can talk about it in very general terms, but until we define what that means to Oregon City, that will help us figure out how to apply it. So I guess for now, for this session, we have to apply it broadly and then get down to looking at how we want it to be framed in Oregon City as opposed to Lake Oswego or Portland or wherever. Does everybody understand what I'm trying to get at?
John, I'm seeing a hand raised. Did you have something, question or something you want to add?
It's different, so I don't want to take from Denise's. It was a
Okay,
different
yeah,
comment.
let's make sure.
Well, I guess part of this, right? I mean, the commissioners need to get into their breakout rooms and have discussions about DEI. I'm not sure if anybody is ready at this point, or maybe they are. I'll leave that to the commissioners, but this is part of the process, is going through this to identify, how DEI, because we need to do work on that. I think as you go through that process and it gets implemented, then it gets applied. So I understand where Denise is coming from. I do leave it, the other commissioners, I think, have some input here as to how we move through this. And maybe it's get into the groups, work through it, and then come back together.
I agree with that. But again, it's like I said, it's not a category. It's a process that we will need as a commission to agree that we want to do that.
And I think that's going to come up more in the goal setting piece of it. But I do think that it's a good challenge to think about as you work through these areas, to consider how DEI impacts these conversations and how it shows up in the various areas. Yes, the goal of the exercise is truly to be able to see the big picture of what's happening in the community, to make sure that we're setting goals from a shared understanding of the context. So in order to do that, I want you guys to work through these areas. I think, it's fine to hear the staff updates, but those are all very topical and very specific. So I want you to zoom out a little bit and look at the big context, the big picture of what's happening in Oregon City. Is everybody clear on that? You guys are going to do great.
I do have a question, Sarah.
Yes.
Just because I'm hanging up on trends, the word trends in particular. So are we wanting to list here what we think is the trends that are happening now? Or are these the trends that we think would be good for Oregon City in the future?
Both. You can look at what's happening now and then also think about future trends that could come up. Again, it's being able to, we want to be thinking about the big picture, both current and future. Yes, Commissioner O'Donnell.
I think I understand what Commissioner McGriff is trying to say. If you look at those categories, whether it be growth trends, how do they differ among those different socioeconomic groups or people of color? Political factors, accessibility, how does that differ for those different groups? Economic climate, opportunity, business opportunity, tech trends, access to technology. For example, an impoverished family's access to a laptop for their children. The community needs, what do we do for people of all socioeconomic strategy, and then to catch all of the community trends. So I think I understand. If I'm wrong in that understanding, Denise, please tell me, but that's basically what I understood.
All right. Okay, I think we're clear on where we're headed. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys into your breakout rooms. So give me just a moment while I create those. And this is just you guys are going to get the chance to work with different people throughout. So just know that we're going to switch these up as we move through these exercises. All right.
I feel like we're picking teams in bombardment.
I'm picking them very randomly. So let's see.
1.
Okay, so we have 8 and 8. I will jump into your groups and check on you throughout. For any members of the public tuning in, you all will just be viewing in the general session for a moment, and you'll get to hear the report out when the group comes back together. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open your rooms for this part of the exercise. Let's start with 25 minutes and see how far we get. I know we're running behind on time, but that's fine. You guys are having good discussion, and we can make some adjustments in how we move through some of the other things. So we'll stay flexible. All right, here you go, 25 minutes.
Hey, Sarah, where did you want me? In group 1 or group 2?
Did I not assign? Oh yeah, because you're not because you're, let's
Or
see.
does it matter?
I think you should go in the opposite group of Tony. So
Okay, so
I would go in
1.
group 1. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, welcome back, everybody. It feels very Harry Potter-esque, whisking you out into those rooms and back. I'm always surprised everybody makes it. Okay, how did everybody do? Do you feel like you got through it? I was keeping tabs as you were, as your recorders who've gotten very good at using the mural board. They just learned earlier this week. So really impressed with their note-taking skills, first of all. But I was keeping tabs on your conversations and it looks like you guys hit all of the areas. Everybody feel like they were able to wrap up? Okay, let's take 5 minutes to get up, move around, take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll do the report out and hear what your groups came up with. And then just keep moving on our agenda. So it is 7:33. Let's come back at 7:38. right, welcome back. Give people a second, turn their videos back on. All right, let's get started. So any insights from doing that exercise together as a group from the commission? Was that helpful to kind of start to see the big picture and some of these other things that maybe we didn't get to hear in project updates? Maybe a little. We'll see when we see the whole picture. All right, let's go. Let's just move into the report out then. So let's start with growth trends. I'm going to share my screen and I will put this all on the map together. But for right now, let's just let's zero in on the notes here. So which group was this? Who recorded this one?
That would be Jacob.
That was Jacob's. Okay. Yes. All right. So whoever was in Jacob's group,
Yes.
Why don't we start with growth trends? Tell us a little bit about some of the growth trends that you guys talked about. And let's hear, maybe the commissioners could present, unless you guys are going to designate and pass the torch to one of the staff members.
I don't know. Denise, did you want to? Growth trends. So, I mean, they're listed there. Let's see. COVID, which was kind of something we've talked about all night. We talked about really a lot of the community trends and growth trends that kind of happened before the pandemic, kind of getting focused on tourism, economic development, Willamette Falls Legacy Project, all these things that we were kind of all on the same page and moving really quickly forward on, and then it all just kind of froze up. And now really how to be sure we're ready in the time after the pandemic to really relaunch that and make sure we're ready for the rebirth or the regrowth and the focus on all of that. Talked about rising costs, also demands for affordable housing.
Okay, what about the other group? What growth trends did you guys focus on? There they are. Any highlights you want to share here? Anything different from what the first group came up with?
Well, I think you can see that ours is really focused on housing and the makeup of folks that seem to be moving to Oregon City, but lots of big houses, no middle to low income housing being built. We had lots of discussion about the cost of housing and just that whole topic in general. And then, of course, generally we hear the requests for jobs, retail, entertainment opportunities in the community survey. So,
okay. Yeah, I like that you guys kind of tackled this topic from different angles. And I think it does help to paint a good context of what you need to be thinking about as far as growth as you go into the goal setting piece. Any final insights on that before we move to the next one? Okay, let's cover technology. And since we're already on this group's list, let's start with them. Just kind of walk us through a couple of the highlights from this conversation. Anybody can jump in.
We didn't organize a speaker.
That's okay. I should have told you. So just not to put anybody on the spot, anybody who wants to jump in that was part of this conversation, just share.
I'll go ahead and take this one on. So we talked a little bit about the fact that technology is coming. And the fact that we need to be able to meet meet that need. There's still a little uncertainty about how that would happen, but recognizing that, broadband is highly demand. People are working from home. The library services, are finding high demand for that. So the technology that we're seeing, we got a little insight from Rachel, which is, hey, you kind of need it everywhere for it to be effective. So, how do we do that? There's some apprehension about what that could look like based on some of what we've heard about 5G and kind of some of those kind of things, but increased fiber. We talked a little bit about, James should have been in the room because he's kind of been pushing some of these initiatives that would, ensure that we meet the needs of youth. And I think the other big deal that Rachel brought up at the end was something that came up during the IT strategic plan as well, which is, the cybersecurity, whatever we're building as just the city. I wasn't sure if that applied. I'm sure it applies to the high speed, citywide kind of a network as well. The other thing that I kind of saw, because we got into lots of topics and they all seem to touch this political realm, which is, are there partnership opportunities to help fill this need? And, specifically with the county.
Okay.
I hope I covered that okay.
Let's see what the other group came up with. Let's see. Where'd you guys put tech trends? Here they are. All right. So yeah, you guys talked about security as well. What about
we talked about that at a much higher level. We talked about the ability to promote a smart city, how to make access to fiber equitable, not just for people who can afford it, but how do we make it? How do we get it to a price point where it can be affordable? We talked about youth as well. We talked about seniors. There's different issues involving both of those communities that we're not addressing. And we also talked about daycare and the fact that women in our community have been disproportionately affected by COVID because they're the ones that have quit their jobs and stay home. So how do we help even the playing field in that regard? And daycare is going to be one of those big issues. We're concerned about the pent up demand, and can we be ready while maintaining our community's livability?
And this is all for tech trends?
That's part of it.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure I'm understanding. Okay, anything else on tech from this group?
James mentioned that we might look at the Clackamas, well, actually, Laura mentioned Katie mentioned we might look at the Clackamas County model that they've have an initiative that was, I believe, started by Commissioner Humberston to get fiber in parts of the county that were not served. So we might be looking at that same type of a model.
Okay, great. Again, this is all good to note. You can see how ideas are coming up here that might show up in the goal mapping later. Okay, let's talk about talked about growth trends, tech trends. Let's talk about some of the other community trends that came up, and we'll start with this group while we're here. Any highlights?
This is Katie. I kind of feel like Denise covered a lot of the things that we talked about that kind of went in all of our categories. They didn't necessarily just fit into the tech trends. So for example, the youth, the seniors, the daycare, that was also covered under that other community trends. And we did talk about focus on, downtown residential. We talked about that we've heard from the community before that they wanted a dog park. They wanted more youth programs. And with the youth programs, I did mention that there are a lot of places in our community that do youth programs, but they all do them siloed. And so wondered if there's some sort of cross connection that between the Oregon City School District, the Clackamas Community College, the YMCA that's at the Clackamas Community College, the Parks and Rec programs that we offer, if there was some sort of collaboration that we could work together as a team and, spread the use of those resources over, an entire year and plan something out as a team so that there are, and our library too, so that the word got out more, because it seems like people are asking for these, but we have a lot of them, just not knowing that people are maybe not getting all the information to find them. And then trying to partner with those guys. And then also we always hear about a public restroom in the downtown area. And I do know that we did have a Arta Potty down there for quite some time. And I believe that it was well used. I'm just not sure that everybody felt super comfortable using it. And I know that if nothing else, if we can't get residential right away in downtown, something that might be super helpful is a public restroom if you want more people to do more of a walkability downtown.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Let's see, other community trends from this group. Oh, good. You guys added this one. Yeah, so I don't know if anything needs to be said about this one, but community conversations around DEI. And we kind of touched on that before we even started the exercise. Anything you guys want to elaborate on, or something else that came up in the conversation?
Sure. Well, I talked about this as seems to be two-pronged. We have the DEI work that's happening within city operations, which could easily go unnoticed by the community. And then there's the other prong, which is the community conversation about racial issues and just general DEI. And getting the community involved into those conversations about our community at large. Like, how can we improve our community at large? So we've talked about a lot of the same things that you all just talked about, but I think we put them in a different category.
Yeah, which is why this exercise is always interesting. But the cool thing is that you see these themes starting to emerge, and it is that shared understanding. Okay, let's shift over to economic climate. What kind of stuff did you guys cover here?
So when we look at the economic climate, one of the issues that we see is just the daycare expense and the availability of daycare and how that plays into, building a community where, you've got two working parents, and, just the expense or the availability of that, we continue to hear is a concern. So one of the other, homelessness comes up. We deal with it operationally. We hear it from our community. We see it in the survey. And so it's, there's things that we've done and we've taken, initial steps on that I think are leading the region, whether it's the homeless liaison officer or the mental health specialists, training up our officers, training up our different departments. But, at the end of the day, we really need to go where that money is. And right now, all the bonds that the programs that we've supported as a community through voter initiatives, that money is going through the county. So we need to create those relationships at the staff and the political level to start focusing on how do we utilize that money and get it invested here, but then also talking about wider regionally so that one place does not become the only place. Part of it is finding money to help alleviate some of the concerns that we have for wraparound services or housing, but also how do we have that larger regional conversation that other jurisdictions need to step up and assist with this. And like I said, part of that's at the staff level, and part of that's at the political level, having those relationships. And then just the tie between economic development and tourism, how do we continue to strengthen that and expand on, utilizing those to support one another. Tourism is economic development, and how do we build on that?
Okay. So that's economic climate, and then up here, economic climate. Daycare, and this one just keeps coming up all over the place. What else?
But we also talked in terms of the pent-up demand. This a lot also depends on the distribution of the vaccines.
Okay.
And also because by the late summer, early fall, hopefully the vaccines would have been distributed well enough so that the pent-up demand that currently exists will be released. And as a consequence, we couldn't, if it is released, then people will come out of their homes and go to stores and spend money. And of course, with all the spending of money that happens, inflation is going to go up. And unemployment will go down, which is what you want, unemployment to go down. But there are consequences to an economy that's too hot. And so that will happen. And then I think that's about it. That's
okay.
Oh, workforce development. Now we talked about workforce development. I don't know if that was the right category, but I think we talked about workforce development, and we had you have it under. Yeah, there you go. You have it under community needs.
Okay, why don't you just jump over to that, to community needs? You guys have quite a few in there. It looks like there's some themes too.
Well, but we're looking right now, there's a large population in this city between the ages of 18 and 35. And it's a huge population and proportion to all the other ages. And we don't want to lose this age group to other communities. We want to keep them here, and we want to help them get trained, get this type of skills that businesses here need. And by keeping them here and getting them into jobs that actually provide a future for them and their families, it makes it possible for them to stay here long and close to their families. Also, I think, and also the need to balance the small town feel. Oregon, having stores that are unique to Oregon, or mom and pop stores instead of these chains, that's actually a niche for Oregon City, to have stores that are niche markets for the city. And that's a strong point, particularly as it relates to tourism as well. So we talked about that. I'm out of juice.
All right, anybody else want to cover any of these? You guys talked about homelessness. I don't know if it was in a different context from what we've already heard.
No, I wouldn't say that it is. Part of it is going back to the statement that's been made twice already, is that while we have efforts that have occurred in the community, they are disjointed and siloed from each other. But there's also the recognition that we can't be the only ones that are providing this. We can't provide it on our own, and we need to get together, put bygones past and try to work together, because it's as was noted in the paper today, downtown or Portland in some places looks like an encampment. And while it does bother some people, it doesn't bother other people. But how many people are going to go around if the place has got a lot of garbage? We're fortunate we don't have tents, but again, that goes back to that livability issue, continuing the clean and safe program where the city helps pay for part of that downtown and some of our other areas. And then also in terms of workforce, what about the people who have an idea for a business? How do we help them become entrepreneurs so that they can provide for their families? Maybe they don't fit into a niche for workforce, or maybe they don't fit into manufacturing, or whatever the category is for jobs. Again, that deals with the overall topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion. How do we make opportunities available for somebody with that big idea? We talked about DEI in our group. It kind of covered everything. We kind of talked about it from the standpoint of bringing it into every topic area that we had.
Okay. Let's see. The one that kind of begs the question, pedestrian safety seems straightforward. Reduce burdens of growth on the local community, kind of, again, getting back to that livability piece. But the DEI procurement policy seems fairly straightforward. But this iconic projects, Can you guys elaborate on that one a little bit on what the meaning is there?
That had to do with the fact that we were supposed to have a groundbreaking in April for the Willamette Falls Legacy Project, and it didn't happen. And I beseeched the director to just go dig a shovel and something to say that it was still going on. And Rocky made the comment, a lot of people think it's dead.
Yeah, so I mentioned that comment on, and I'll kind of go beyond that, but you know, with the pandemic and everything kind of on hold, people aren't sure about where we're at with the Willamette Falls Legacy Project, the Cove development, the Rivers, you know, site. I just feel like we need, you know, the whole community was behind Willamette Falls, and so we need to make sure when the pandemic kind of eases up, and when we do the groundbreaking for the Riverwalk coming up in this new alignment, that we really do an outreach to that. And then also in other projects, whatever comes with the Cove site or the Rivers site, that we set our bar really high and we have the same kind of excitement and expectation for all those other vacant sites as we do for the mill site. And we have to do that. We can't settle for what we've settled for in the past, and we need the community buy-in and support to move forward, and we need something to look forward to and get everyone excited about.
Rocky, that's where the vision is going to come in. If we have a vision, that's where the excitement for the community will come in.
Okay. Let's see, community needs. And then down in this group, increased shopping and dining, work from home, corporate headquarters to the suburbs. Maybe we can elaborate on that one. These other ones, I think if you guys could elaborate on communication needs and this corporate headquarters to the suburbs, if that's an economic development strategy, or just give us some clarity on that.
You want to tackle that one?
Go ahead.
No, you go. I was going to say, why don't you tackle it? You brought that one up, the suburb one.
I know.
Sorry, Kendall.
I actually brought it up.
I was going to have Frank, Kendall, I was going to have Frank take the headquarters.
Right now, there's an exodus from center city areas. I mean, people want to escape the violence and destruction of downtown, the uncertainty. Those, not only corporate headquarters, but smaller business entities are moving to the suburbs for a sense of increased sense of safety. And I think we need to capitalize on that. I also think that given the means of communication now and the realization that we can work from smaller work pods, we don't need these giant corporate headquarters anymore like we did. And I think that's the way of the future. And we need to be prepared to go after that. The communication piece, I keep looking at that survey. I mean, touching on something Rocky Smith just said, I mean, there's people that think the city dictates what's going to happen at the old mill site, and we don't. And it's like, what does it take to get that message out? How do we get that two-way communication? How do we engage those that, and they have a responsibility to search out information too. But, you know, increased use of social media. And when you start looking at how people get their information, if you combine two of the social media pieces, which one was called social media and the other one I think was next door, it's like the major piece along with the trail news. So we have got to be more effective, and I call it community engagement, not just simply communication. And those are the pieces that I was thinking about when I mentioned those two things.
Okay. All right, partnerships, opportunities for youth, and diversion needs. Okay. Let's see, political factors. You guys had increase in citizen comment. Homelessness as a regional issue. We've touched on that a lot. And let's see. And then this group, you guys had progressive orientation. I think we're going to need to elaborate on that. Add diversity in employment documents. Focus on local. Okay, can we elaborate on what did you guys mean by progressive orientation?
What we meant by that is that recognizing that we have a new federal administration, Democratic administration. The state of Oregon itself is a Democratic progressive orientation.
Okay. Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else in here that we need to elaborate on? I don't want to assume some of these other ones seem straightforward to me, but that you guys had focus on local, the small town feel, continue to use tech used in pandemic, tribal partnerships and relationships. I'm assuming this just means to expand. Tell me if I'm missing the point. And then adding diversity in employment documents. So looking at some internal practices as far as how diversity is being promoted in your internal organization.
The relationship thing not only applies to the tribes, but we have other local governments and entities that we could have a much better relationship with. But I think, in my opinion only, we need to let go of some of the hurts or wrongs of the past and try to move past that to get to a better relationship. We just can't keep dredging up things that happened 20 years ago. We have to try to, get over it and come to some resolution of it and move forward, because it isn't helpful.
Yes. And I think recognizing that the leadership in these bodies changes and it's not the same. So I think that's probably a good point and may come up later when you guys are thinking about how to set goals around partnerships. Because partnerships would be hard if you're hanging on to grudges from past. Okay.
On that same topic, because I'll add to that, but frequently, especially with some of our relationships that I think Commissioner McGriff was alluding to, county, state, metro, even to some degree, that's a two-way street. And what I'm concerned about is there has never been, at least in my time on the commission, a real effort to build relationships with those groups. And it's really just the regional governments coming to us top down, and rather than building a relationship before they come to the commission. And I will tell you that in my 12 years on the commission, I've only ever had communications from any county commissioners maybe once or twice. So, we have to build relationships in order to move forward on things. And I think that's something that we do need to work on.
And I think as Jim Band said, some of those relationships need to be of a personal nature. I mean, you talk about the thing I just sent out to my fellow commissioners today about Mark Meek introducing a do not toll I-205 thing. There's a lot of personal conversation. I know I had him behind the scenes with him. We need to foster those personal relationships so we're just not another Joe Blow coming up asking for something. So I agree with you, Commissioner Smith.
Okay, it sounds like there's some good agreement around that. And I hope that comes up in the goals. Yes. Another thumbs up. This last category that we haven't touched on yet. So uncertainties, revenue. This is what I'm hearing in a lot of cities, and just the ability for people to pay taxes. How's that going to impact revenue streams? Changes in the mayor. Yes, you guys have that coming. More potential changes in your group dynamic. Marijuana tax. Is that something you guys are considering?
Already have it.
It exists.
It exists. Okay.
Uncertainty in the amount of revenue.
Oh, got it.
Flexibility on that.
Okay.
I think we need to be prepared to take advantage of possible federal government economic aid packages to revitalize this economy.
Okay.
So be prepared with projects ready to propose if those funds become available.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the other group had, again, revenues and then unknowns such as emergencies. So again, it's good to be thinking about these things as you guys go into the goal setting piece. I will organize this all in a one-page graphic that I'll send to you tonight. So I want you to have it tomorrow somewhere to reference as you're thinking about the goals, and tomorrow to start the discussion when we do our recap, we'll talk about some of the themes that emerged, and I'll start to pull those out as I organize that document. So I think the themes are really important for the goal setting piece. Yes, Denise?
That last box that you were at when we talked about uncertainties.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to, yeah, I'm just getting closer because I'm like, I can't see that.
You just let me know. I can always zoom in more.
Yeah, so I can see it now. So uncertainties, revenues, unknowns such as emergencies, but wouldn't we also put in there, again, I want to be more positive, that an uncertainty could be an opportunity that we don't know about?
Yes. And I think that kind of relates to what Commissioner O'Donnell was saying about federal aid packages. We don't know what those are going to look like. So things of that nature. Being prepared for those things. Okay, anything else on context now that we've kind of run through all of the ideas that you guys had? And there was some definite themes from the groups, but also I think you guys had some differences in your conversation, which I think helps to paint a better picture as you start to think about what you want to put in the goals for tomorrow. Any final thoughts on this? Yes, Denise?
I want to put under, obviously it's going to be an expense. So how do we pay for a DEI process in our community?
Okay.
Budget discussion.
Okay. I'll add that in. All right. Any other final thoughts? Not seeing any. Okay. We're getting close to our time, but we have enough, I think, to get started on the vision conversation, and that'll be the last thing that we do tonight. So I want to break you back into small groups. I'll switch it up this time. And my thought process is, since we have limited time, this will serve as our warm up tomorrow when we do our debrief. So I think you guys can do your brainstorm tonight, and then tomorrow when we come back together in the morning, this will be our warm up exercise to get us all talking and to talk about the amazing visions that you guys are going to come up with as part of this last exercise. So it's 8:11. Why don't we do this for 15 minutes? You can get started on the brainstorming portion, and then we'll have to continue it in the morning to wrap it up. So let me show you. You guys should have received this template as part of your package of items. And the reason we do this is, again, you want to make sure that you have a shared direction that you want to head in for the goals. And to just come up with a vision statement cold is really hard to do. So this might seem a little silly, but embrace the silliness of it, because it really does help to come up with some powerful ideas and themes and putting a clear shared vision together. So let's see, I'm going to share this template so I can get you oriented to it. So you'll have two teams. And again, you want to think about, okay, give yourself some guidance by thinking, what publication is this showing up in? Is it the Oregonian? Is it the New York Times? Like, what is Oregon City being recognized in? And the last piece that you're going to come up with is the big headline of what's grabbing everybody's attention. But before you can get there, think through what are some of the stories you want people to be telling about Oregon City in 5 years? What are some of the accomplishments that are being celebrated? What are some of the amazing things that you have done? So you can brainstorm those ideas up here and then start to capture what are the main points in the story. What are maybe some supporting details? Maybe there's some metrics that go with it of, Oregon City has the lowest number of homeless people or has eliminated it to 0, or Oregon City has the highest number of social media followers in the state of Oregon. I don't know. You can come up with different metrics that support your main points of your story. Then over here in the buzz, imagine that hashtags are maybe still a thing. So maybe what's trending? What are some of the hashtags that are coming up? Or maybe there's a quote from somebody. Maybe there was a famous person that came to town and visited Oregon City and was just, touting what a great project the Willamette Falls project was, and some of the cool things because of it. So what are people saying? What's some imagery that's coming to mind? One of the cool things about this platform is that you can add images. You can literally search for anything, and images are going to come up. Look, there's one of your community. So what's some imagery that comes to mind when you're telling your story? And again, Lisa and Jacob are going to help you guys put these, record all of your comments in here. So once you have all of your main points, your supporting details, then think as a group, what's the headline? What is the main headline that unites all of these things, and that's going to grab somebody's attention? Okay, questions about this? I know it's late after a long week. So just see if you can just get through the brainstorming portion and just start to get some ideas down. And then we can continue with the work tomorrow. And I think this will get your brains into gear and first thing in the morning after you've had that morning cup of coffee or whatever your caffeine of choice is. Okay, are you guys game for this last piece? Seeing some head shaking. I'm seeing some people that maybe look not so sure, but you can do it. Power through, just a few more minutes. All right, I'm going to put you into your breakout rooms. All right. Katie, if you want to go with group 1 this time. All right, so just start with 10 minutes and then we'll come back in the last 5 minutes. We'll wrap up. Sorry, Kristen, I forgot to assign you. You're on mute. Sorry, I can't hear you.
I was just saying, I thought we could do half girls versus boys, but we're 2 girls short. So.
Oh shoot! Yes, maybe tomorrow we can attempt that.
Thanks.
All right, they're gonna need your energy. Okay, everybody's back. It looks like you guys generated a lot of ideas during your discussion. Is that kind of a good way to end and break up the night? Okay, good. How's everybody feeling? If you have your cue cards, how are you feeling so far about the process? Are we off to a good start? Good. Seeing some thumbs up. Is anybody not sure? Is there anything that we can make some adjustments for tomorrow? So is there anything you're feeling uncertain about? This is a good opportunity to share that now while I revamp our agenda for tomorrow to make a few adjustments to accommodate the activities we're going to do in the morning. So if you need anything or have any suggestions, please let me know.
I would like my fellow commissioners to tomorrow to think about this evening, and tomorrow maybe very briefly talk about whether or not you support us moving our community into diversity, equity, and inclusion process. Not how to pay for it, not what it is, but is it a concept? Because I can tell you during my campaign, I heard this over and over and over again. I didn't make a campaign promise, but I said it was going to be one of the things that I was going to bring up at this retreat. And it was my number one thing. And then everything else we've talked about, it was underneath it. So just think about that for tomorrow, because I'd like us to come to a consensus, and then we can figure out how to get there. That's the easy part. We can figure that out, but we have to make a commitment to whether we're going to do it or not. I don't want Lake Oswego showing us up, for one thing.
I think that's a good challenge. I think you guys will definitely get to that conversation. It's certainly been a strong theme throughout tonight as part of the idea mapping and then goal refinement process. So thank you, Denise, for raising it as a reflection. So tonight I'm going to send out your context map. So you'll have that in the morning to reflect on. I'm going to work on it right now. So even if you want to reflect more tonight, if you're not too tired and haven't had enough yet, you can spend some time thinking about it. And I'll also send the vision maps to all of you as well. So you have those brainstorming ideas, so you can keep, you can dream about your vision for Oregon City. And when you wake up in the middle of the night and have that brilliant insight, you can have it right there to jot down your notes. So I think this will be a fun way to start the day tomorrow. Okay, I appreciate your engagement and your participation and going along with this game plan. I think we're off to a great start. Anything that we need to do to close this out? Commission president or city manager?
Rocky, you're muted.
I was gonna try to find my own mute sign. Hold on. No, I'm kidding. I have nothing to say. Oh, good. Yeah. Hey, stop that.
Does he need to formally adjourn?
I was looking for the ones that I made by hand. I'll show you. I'll send you that one, Frank. I'll send you your message by text message.
By the way,
Rocky.
Frank knows that I thought his hair looked really great tonight.
Yeah, it does. Tony, did you have anything?
I just want to say thank you, everybody, for really engaging and working together and being thoughtful. I've really enjoyed this. I hope you guys did as well, and I hope you found it productive. And I really look forward to tomorrow morning and picking this back up.
All right. It sounds like Denise might lead us in some chair yoga or something at the break. All right, Denise, we're going to look to you for some stretching guidance tomorrow. All right, everybody, have a nice evening. I'll see you in the morning, 8:30, right, Katie? Yes, 8:30. All right. Good night, all.
Thank you. Good night.
When is breakfast being delivered?